I've never been one for like politics in particular. It's never entertained me. It's always just been boring, frankly. I understood the big deal behind it. I just never got like, I don't know. I just never really cared. But the more I've learned about like business practices and business concepts and stuff, the more I have understood politics a bit more because there's a strong overlap between politics and business, government and business more than anything. In a previous video, I gave some reasons on why it would be good for everyone to understand business concepts and practices at least a little bit. And on top of that, I gave a few like subjects or topics that if you understand business, then you can understand some of these other things better. And one of those topics was politics slash government. And basically, I was trying to make the point that if you understand business, you'll be able to understand government and some of like the different policies and just why certain things happen, at least a little bit, because money is more or less the center of pretty much any and everything that goes on, at least here in the West. With that said, I want to touch on something that I never understood, and now I feel kind of bad that I never did because it's actually pretty simple, which is lobbying. I never fully understood. I kind of had an idea, but I never truly understood what lobbying meant. And something tells me other people still don't know what this means either. So let's just touch on this real quick. We already picked up on the last video. Understand business, then you'll understand why certain things in government and politics in general, which politics and government are not inherently the same thing. But as far as government goes, we know that when it comes to legislators or lawmakers, those who, try to create bills to push through the House of Reps and all that stuff, and the Senate ultimately writes it into law, we know that those laws are going to have short and long-term effects more times than not, if not always. So they're basically it's a big deal when it comes to the laws and different rules and things that are implemented into American society. Now, the thing is, like I said earlier, money is the cornerstone of all this, and even if it's not like just straight up cash, there's usually a money-based motive that dictates how certain laws, which laws are chosen to be implemented and become from bills into actual laws themselves, in addition to laws that maybe are done away with. Basically, when it comes to the lawmakers or legislators in the American government, the laws that they pass from bills and make them to actual laws is a big deal. There's usually a short or long term benefit or consequence to certain laws that they decide to like make real, like actually make them enforceable, right? Money is the center stone of pretty much any and everything that happens here, with it being a capitalistic society. I would say in the West at large, but pretty much anywhere, money is the reason, directly or indirectly, for why certain laws become laws. Other things may be done away with, or why certain bills aren't passed and don't become laws. Because something that I just learned is that certain laws, well, I'll say something I just internalized. Certain laws can have backlash not only on us as citizens, which we think about that. I don't think, like myself, I never considered, like outside of us as individual citizens, how certain laws would impact businesses. These days, tech companies, consulting firms, and the like, they need to abide by certain laws when it comes to their practices, depending on what they're doing. So, what some of these companies do is they have what are called lobbyists on their payroll to influence the legislators, again, the people that create the laws, so that they put certain laws through that may be beneficial to people in general, but more so their corporation. Also, decide not to implement certain laws basically for the same reason. Here's the whole thing: lobbying is the act of trying to influence these government people, these government like representatives, so that you give them reason to pass certain laws and make them real, and also give them reasons to not pass certain laws and to prevent them from becoming enforceable by law enforcement personnel. This is because not all laws work in everyone's favor. That's where politics, like to me, has never just been interesting, because even when it comes to the two parties, the two main parties here in America, it was just never good to me, because one, it seems like people's perspectives and behaviors can change, therefore their allegiance can change over time. And then two, pretty much that's that same first point of whatever's in your favor now and therefore dictates who you support when it comes to politics and the laws that are pushed through and you're okay with it, especially again with money being the center point of all this stuff. Maybe you need to make more money. If you ever reach a point where you made a certain amount of money, your perspective is going to change. For example, I'm Black American, obviously. It's like being a Democrat is synonymous with being Black. As Black American and Black people, being Democrat and being Black are synonymous. Being Republican and being Caucasian, primarily prejudice, is synonymous and has been for a while. Now, in recent history, we're seeing it's far more money than that. You have Black Republicans, you have white Democrats, liberals, all that stuff, the whole spectrum. I'm not getting into it, right? My thing being that there have been black folks who claim that they came from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, or they actually did, and then maybe they started rapping, making music, did something else, and they were Democrats at first, and they claimed they didn't like a certain candidate, let's say for president, until they started actually paying attention to like some of the tax laws and things that they want to put into effect. And they're like, wait, hold on now. I'm a multimillionaire. Back when I was a Democrat, these laws were in my favor, but now I'm more like Republicans. Screw that. I ain't a Democrat no more. So that's why I never really cared for politics. It's very wishy-washy. It's very much like depending on how much you make will dictate your political views and the party you claim to be a part of. Now, as far as the lobbying part, the same way people, like even as individuals, we will sway ourselves when it comes to whichever way we want to go in our allegiance politically, just based off our money and potentially the money we can lose, the taxes we'll have to pay, all that stuff. Companies deal with the same stuff. The difference is they actually can afford to have multiple people on their payroll, known as lobbyists, to go into certain buildings, certain facilities, talk to certain people, and essentially try to sway them to either push certain laws through or to block certain ones from becoming laws in the first place. And something else that I learned is that there's something called a revolving door. You have government personnel and then you have corporate lobbyists. Like they get paid to do this day in, day out. And you apparently have people, those government personnel, the legislators, they basically become money hungry and decide to leave their political like job and position to go under the corporation's payroll and become a lobbyist, whereas some lobbyists become government personnel in themselves and start to have a hand in the laws that get pushed. And that's a revolving door because it happens a whole lot. I didn't know that. Here's the bottom line though. You're essentially becoming a salesman. If you're a lobbyist, you're kind of a salesman. You're trying to persuade someone to why they should or should not allow certain things through. If you vote on this law, this can happen, this and that, boom, 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 please don't do it. If you let this law through, this and that will happen, and that's beneficial, please do that, right? And the more you kind of look into this type of information, the more you notice it's not really a right or wrong type of thing. It's literally just a matter of perspective. So it's just a big game of chess in a version. That's why politics is not clean. Growing up, we thought politics was clean, and everyone that you elected, it was in the betterment of all people, generally speaking, this and that. And it's just not that simple, especially when you take into consideration how people can be influenced to put certain laws into effect or take certain laws out of effect or block them from becoming in effect in the first place. In my opinion, one of the best lobbying examples, maybe even a tool, is TikTok. Unless you've been under a rock, I'm sure that you know that TikTok is kind of under scrutiny right now, essentially. And so the US government is giving the creators and owners of TikTok an ultimatum saying, you have two options. Either we ban TikTok from our country and you can do business anywhere else where they allow you to, or you sell the brand, the company itself, either to a single US based and founded company that's based here, or you can be joint bid. It can be a joint bid, meaning multiple big companies can purchase you, and it's essentially kind of like splinters off the company in terms of where the money's coming from, and multiple people have their hands in the pot. In response to this, apparently a good amount of people have decided to travel to DC to lobby against this, basically saying that we don't want you to get rid of TikTok. So we're going to find the legislators, we're going to find these important government people, we're going to get in their face, and we're going to tell them or try to persuade them and get on them and let them know, y'all need to do whatever it takes to not ban TikTok. We like it. It's just as good, if not to some people, better than Google. I personally consider TikTok a visual Google. And also what helps with that is you have like the literal, like say you're looking at how to work certain pieces of technology, you have the literal tutorials, but what helps is that you have multiple actual end users, regular customers and consumers, also showing you how to do things, how do certain things work, why did they stop doing this, why did they pick this product up, why they like this over this one. You get so many different like real life perspectives on it. That's part of the reason people like TikTok. It's educational in its own right. So there are a lot of people who see those benefits and say, yeah, we don't want the US government to ban TikTok, leave them alone. So now a lot of people, including people on their own dime, people that are not hired by corporations, have taken it upon themselves to travel from whatever part of the country that they live in to go to DC, either like multiple times, or maybe they made one pit stop and try to talk to somebody. Either way, they went there to try to find people that have influence over the situation and lobby against the potential ban of TikTok, saying They're trying to sway people away from the thought of it so that TikTok can continue operating and we can still, as Americans, use TikTok here in the country. If we can't, I'm sure there are ways technically to work around it, but it just wouldn't be the same. And that's how lobbying works. Whenever something legally happens or is in the process of happening, of course, we get word about it and we are saying, okay, I'm for it. I'm going to leave it alone. Or I'm not for it. Whose face do we need to get in so that we can prevent this from happening? Because we don't like this, right? And when you try to sway those people and persuade them, you're being a lobbyist. You don't even need to be a lobbyist purely when it comes to politics. If you're trying to sway anyone on anything, like any type of policy or something from getting implemented, it can be at work. You can lobby against it, right? It doesn't even have to be strictly with the government. It's just a matter of trying to persuade people from either doing something that you don't like and a group of people don't like, or to get them to do something that you and other people like. That's all it is. And I'm just not figuring that out. So we'll see what else we learn in the future. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave the video here, guys. If you have any feedback and comments for me, share that with me in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.